You are listening to the FEBIS podcast, and my name is Sylvia Amaral. To know more about FEBIS, visit our web at www.febis.org and follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Please subscribe to our podcast and stay tuned. Summer has started, but the EU is not yet in summer recess, and indeed the past few weeks have been quite intense in terms of regulatory questions. Stephanie Verilac-Marzin, FEBIS Institutional and Regulatory Affairs Coordinator, has joined me today to talk about some developments regarding open finance and financial data access. Stephanie, welcome and thank you for joining the FEBIS podcast.
Well, thanks very much for having me, Sylvia. It's always a pleasure to be in the FEBIS podcast.
Well, in that case, let's go straight to the point. And I have one question for you. Well, what can you say about the new open finance proposal?
Well, first of all, this is a brand new proposal. It's been unveiled by the European Commission at the very end of June, so it's brand new. And the open finance is a global regulatory framework that has been under the EU auspices for quite some time. But as I said, the latest formal proposals under the open finance umbrella consist of three regulatory proposals that have been unveiled on the 28th of June.
In that case, it's time to ask, what are these three proposals?
Yeah, so let me try to explain in the most comprehensive way. So the first one is a regulation proposal which aims at boosting the digital euro. So it is more destined for financial institutions and for payment gateways, and with the basic idea to secure the transition to digital euros and digital currencies. So in reality, it's more a regulation that's going to apply to financial institutions, to payment providers, to the ones who are really using and providing digital currencies. The second of these proposals, which we nickname kind of PSD3, is the update of the famous former Payment Services Directive PSD2, but which the new proposal is changing because instead of a directive, the new proposal puts forward a payment service regulation. So in reality, PSD3 is not the right acronym if you want. It should be PSR, Payment Services Regulation. That's proposed by the Open Finance Framework. And it is indeed now a payment services regulation which is proposed, so therefore it means that it goes for more harmonization because as everybody who has been following our podcast maybe know now, a regulation has direct applicability in all the various member states, whereas a directive needs to be transposed into the legal regimes of the countries that are under this directive coverage. So what the PSR, this new payment services regulation, aims at doing is overcoming some of the key breaks that were discovered with the PSD2 and that didn't deliver at the level that was expected. And last but not least, the third proposal, which is which falls, under the auspices of this new open finance proposal, is a new one, which is called the proposal for a regulation on financial data access, so nicknamed in the EU jargon the FIDA regulation, and which definitely, in our view, is one of the most important pieces of legislation for the sector.
Well, in that case, let's focus on FIDA. What are the major points of this new proposal?
Yeah, so as I said, first is new. We've never had a financial data access regulation before, so it's stated in the name, right? It's about access to data from the financial sector, but also financial data. It comes in the context of the financial data strategy, which is a level down the global EU data strategy, which aims at putting in place sectorial data spaces where data flows better. So if you want to schematize that, you have on top, the European data strategy, aiming at promoting all better data flows within the EU. And then you have in the funnel the level after the financial data strategy, and the level after you will see the financial data access regulation. So if that helps to have a view in terms of funnel and narrowing down. So what the financial sector is indeed the second EU data space that's promoted after the European Commission adopted a proposal on the health data space a few months ago. And what does the financial data space, sorry, the EU is trying to promote better access to information through different types of other related and interlinked, let's say, regulation. So promoting better access to public information through the interconnection of business registers with the ESAP, and also reorganizing, the supervision with the supervisory data strategy, and the financial data access to the FIDA is kind of the third pillar of this financial data space. So what are the major points, as you said, in this new FIDA proposal? Well, the overall idea is to promote better data sharing between actors of the financial data space. So it's between actors that can be seen as both data holders or data users. And the idea is to promote this better data sharing on a wide range of customer data. What's very important to understand is that customer, in the sense of the financial data access regulation, has to be understood as both individuals and companies. So a customer in that sense is different than a consumer. I'm making this differentiation because I think this is one of the key ones that we need to bear in mind. And the data which is in scope of this FIDA is quite broad, and it includes data that's used by financial institutions, but also data that's used for creditworthiness assessments of businesses, but not the data that's used for creditworthiness assessments of natural persons, nor the payment account or the information that it's used, for example, for health and life insurance. So here we see that, the scope is probably going to be one of the key items to be discussed in the next legislative process, because it may be very difficult, to differentiate between all these types of data, which are either in the scope or out of the scope of FIDA. So the defined scope seems quite large, but there are still some uncertainties about which exact data and data sets are going to be in the scope and how it will work and impact the providers of creditworthiness assessments. So if we go one step further under the FIDA proposal, both data users and data holders will be encouraged to develop financial data schemes. So a voluntary approach where data access mechanisms are defined and where there are some voluntary agreements regarding the compensation level for accessing the data that's held by data users or the way the access will work. One key element of the proposal is also the will to enhance the trust by putting in place access management dashboard, which can define in real time who can access which data and for how long, and all that should be based on the customer consent. Remember the first initial comment that we had about customers. So customers in the FIDA understanding is both individuals and companies. There are many other points in the FEBIS proposal, including some points about supervisory authorization that needs to be asked by data users who wants to access the data that's held by data holders. There are also some question of setting up new financial service providers who will be data users, but also will inherit from the former licensing regime of account information service providers that was put in place under the PSD2 proposal. So indeed, we're just at the beginning of the process here, and we still have a lot of information to digest, and we see that there could be a lot of potential impacts for the business information sector, and especially in the case of the data related to creditworthiness assessment of companies.
We will come back to this when things are clearer, definitely. But for now, what is the legislative process for the whole proposal?
So as we said, I mean, it just started with the whole open finance package being published before the summer break, so on June 28th, by the European Commission. So now there is a consultation process launched by the European Commission, and people can contribute until the beginning of September. And in parallel to that, both the European Parliament and the European Council and the Council, of member states are going to define who's going to be working on these proposals. So the European Parliament hasn't appointed the lead committee yet, but most presumably it will be the the Economic Committee, who will be the leader on this dossier. But we can expect other opinion committees to be very strongly voicing their comments also. As I said, I mean, there is a consultation time open until the beginning of September, and in the parallel time, the council will decide who will take care of that, probably the Economic Affairs Commission of the council. And then there will be the usual legislative process at EU level with the co-decision procedures and some amendments possible. All that bearing in mind that in 2024 we're going to enter election time at the EU level. So all of this needs to be straightened out, let's say, or at least to be put on track before March 2024. So no doubt that many sectors will have very strong comments to make on this overall open finance proposal, and also maybe the impact for business information will be a great one.
Well, still to be seen, but from your words, we can say that we are still at a very early stage and a lot remains to be clarified and defined.
Exactly.
Exactly. So we will keep monitoring and working on these and other topics at FEBIS level, and we'll return after August with some fresh updates. So, Stephanie, see you in September and enjoy summer.
Enjoy the summer too, and we hear each other in September again.
We would love to hear your feedback and thoughts for future episodes. You have been listening to the FEBIS podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe. Thank you for listening.